This is not a story about a single viral video. This is a story about what happens when someone claims they simply looked where others did not. This is not about a verdict, and it is not about proving guilt. It is about a question that captured national attention. What happens when an alleged investigation into public funds turns into scrutiny of the investigator himself? According to publicly stated claims, the moment the footage went viral, the spotlight shifted, not toward institutions, but toward the person who recorded it. And that is where the story truly begins. It all started as what appeared, at least on paper, to be a routine journalistic trip. According to public statements, independent journalist Nick Shirley traveled to Minnesota to verify information already circulating in certain circles. Claims suggested some daycare centers were receiving significant taxpayer funding for childcare and social services. Nothing unusual. Such claims exist in nearly every state. But what Shirley says changed the story's course was his decision not to rely solely on documents. He went to the locations themselves. Shirley and his team visited multiple sites publicly listed as active daycare centers. And that is where, according to him, the first serious question emerged. At several locations, he claimed there were no visible signs of daily operations. No children, no staff. No observable activity expected from a functioning childcare center. Some buildings appeared vacant or closed. In certain cases, his team could not obtain even basic enrollment information. It is important to pause here. These are his public claims, part of journalistic work, not a legal judgment, not a final conclusion. Still, the contrast between records and observed reality triggered reactions. Shirley stated that in just one day of filming, his team documented material that could point to a potentially large amount of public funds. He did not claim to discover fraud for the first time. Concerns about misuse of public funding had been raised before, but the difference, as he explained, was visibility. People could see the locations with their own eyes. Once the footage was posted online, the response went beyond a local audience. The video began to spread. Comments multiplied. The discussion extended beyond Minnesota. Soon, large social media accounts shared the footage, moving the story into broader political and cultural conversations. At that moment, according to Shirley, the dynamic changed. Instead of questions about the daycare centers, questions were directed at him. Who is he? How does he work? Who is behind him? In interviews, Shirley stated that after the videos went viral, he felt more exposed than before. He spoke of pressure, public criticism, and the need for additional personal security measures. These are his personal assessments, not confirmations of threats or proof of danger. But for many, the shift of focus from the topic to the individual became the central question. It raises a broader question. What happens in the digital age when an individual publishes content that receives massive attention? Does the system respond to the claims or to the person making them? This situation is not just about Minnesota or daycare centers. It is about how information spreads, how virality reshapes priorities, and the fine line between investigation and public perception. When the story crossed local boundaries, it began to take on a life of its own. It was no longer just field reporting. It became subject to debate, analysis, and interpretation. Video clips and interview excerpts appeared on major platforms shared by accounts with millions of followers. The story reached a new audience. At that point, content stops being just information. It becomes a symbol. Different sides interpret it through their own perspectives. Some viewed Shirley's work as field journalism. Others questioned methodology, context, and responsibility. Public debate was not unified, highlighting the complexity of understanding information in the digital age. As popularity grew, so did polarization. The discussion involved trust in sources, motivations, and reporting practices. Shirley said he noticed the focus shifting from what was filmed to who filmed it. This is not unusual for independent journalists or creators in the digital era. Without institutional protection, individuals' names and work often become inseparable. How does society react when information spreads outside traditional channels? Previously, a hierarchy existed: editors, newsrooms, slow publishing cycles. Now, a single video can reach the world in hours. Responsibility becomes more complex. While debate unfolds online, investigations and verification require time. In this gap, speculation fills the space. Shirley saw himself not as a judge, but as someone showing what he documented. Yet once footage goes viral, narrative control fades. This pattern repeats. When stories grow, they belong to broader conversation, not just the creator. Public funds involvement adds weight, naturally triggering strong reactions. Topics like this demand extra caution, as the line between concern and premature conclusions is thin. The public began asking broader questions. If someone points out a potential problem, who is responsible for examining it further? The journalist, institutions, the public? This case is part of a larger pattern in the digital age where information, truth, and perception collide. Many view this as a test of transparency, accountability, and society's ability to distinguish questions from conclusions. Another layer involves how individuals interpret truth in a world flooded with information. In such a world, the key question may not be what goes viral, but how it is interpreted. The story of Nick Shirley, his reporting, and the reactions is not just about one state, one industry, or one journalist. It illustrates the collision between field reporting and digital dynamics, between institutional processes and online perception, and between questions and answers yet to arrive. Claims made publicly are part of discussion, not final conclusions. Verification, investigation, and institutional responses follow their own timelines. Between publication and confirmation, confusion often grows. The internet rarely rewards patience. Audiences want clarity immediately. Algorithms reward reaction, not restraint. A balanced approach allows distance. Receive information without immediate judgment. See footage while understanding context. Shirley wanted to show what he encountered. Critics call for clearer standards and perspective. Both highlight the need for transparency, accountability, and careful discernment. Perhaps the story's greatest value is reminding us how important the process of understanding is, not offering a final truth, in a time when anyone can publish, record, and share. Responsibility belongs not only to speakers but also to listeners. If you want to better understand how stories like this emerge, spread, and shape public opinion, the next video goes deeper. We'll explore how viral content moves from social platforms into political and institutional spaces and why attention often shifts from the issue to the person who raised it. No verdicts, no sensationalism, just the bigger picture. If it matters to you not only what you see but what lies behind it, stay with the channel.